Hi guys, Jordan with Motion Array, and in honor of May the 4th and the upcoming episode 9, we're going to be taking a look at maybe the most iconic Star Wars effect, the title intro crawl.
And hey, if you're not familiar with us, we're all about helping you, the video creator, with templates, footage, tutorials, plugins, audio, and more. In fact, we have tons of free video templates and assets ready to download. I've put a link in the description down below, so make sure to head on over and grab some free stuff.
So really the easiest way to pull off this effect is just to download our free After Effects template. I'll make sure to link to that, but if you're the kind of person who wants to actually learn how to do these sorts of things on your own, then this is the video for you. Not only are we going to be looking at how to create the Star Wars intro title crawl, we're also going to be looking at how to create the actual logo, as well as the very first words "a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." So let's jump into After Effects and take a look.
Okay, so here we are in After Effects, and the first step here is actually going to be to download the fonts that we're going to be needing to use for our text. The first one is actually the same font that J.J. Abrams used for Episode 7. It's called News Gothic. You can actually get this one through your Adobe Creative Cloud subscription underneath Fonts. And the second one is going to be for the actual word Star Wars, which was custom created by the makers of Star Wars, but the closest one you can probably download for free is called Star Jedi. So actually, let's start off really simple by recreating the text that says "a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." For this first part, you can use the News Gothic font. Select your text cursor and click and type on a simple empty black background. "A long time ago in a galaxy far," comma, then enter to get to a new line, "far away," ... with 4 dots at the end. Highlight your text and go to the paragraph settings. If you can't find it, go to Window and click Paragraph. Set the justification to left align text. Then we want to go down to Align and make sure that we center our text both vertically and horizontally. And then finally, if you want to actually use the same color as in the latest film, The Last Jedi, you can actually type in this hexadecimal code to get the exact same font color as in the movie, 2A8086. Just to prove it, I actually took a screenshot of the opening text here from The Last Jedi, and you can judge for yourself how close we actually got. Next, toggle down your text here, go down to Transform, and set a keyframe for opacity to start at 0, and then ramp up to 100. Then near to the end, set another keyframe for 100, and then back down to 0. And with that, we've just created the beginning text to this effect. But that was really easy. Now that we're warmed up, let's jump into the logo push and then the actual text crawl. Let's create a new composition. Go to Composition, New Composition, and I'm just going to set mine for 1920 by 1080. First of all, it's worth noting that the intro crawl here actually takes place on a black background with a few stars scattered about. So we can actually pop in a background of a black sky with some stars to start us out. You could grab these shots from a few different places, but I'd make sure to use an image that you have express permission to use. A great resource is unsplash.com, which has a similar license to the Creative Commons Zero license for all of their images. Basically, you're able to use it for free or commercial use. For the Star Wars title text, we're going to start out using the Star Jedi text. Make sure that your text is stacked on top of itself and centered over itself. This will come in a solid form originally, but by highlighting the text and then swapping fill and stroke with this option up here under character, you can give it an outline only. And if you want the exact same yellow color used by Disney in the newest Star Wars films, again, I sampled the original film and the hexadecimal code is here, F2BD1D. I've also done some quick work on it, giving it some masks to quickly clean up some of the problems where the text borders overlap and look kind of gross. But once that's all done, I just pre-comp it by right-clicking here and select Pre-compose, and then move all attributes into the new composition. This just helps to keep things a little bit more clean. Now, for this, we want to actually take our setup here and make it 3D. All you have to do is go down to this square here and click it, and now your layer is able to work in 3D space. Now, instead of using our scale parameter to make the text smaller over time, we're actually just going to be using its 3D position. This is because if we were to use a simple linear scaling effect, we would actually see our text accelerating its speed as it got smaller. But really, if it was moving farther away from us in 3D space, it wouldn't actually look like that was happening. It would actually look like it was getting slower by comparison as it got farther away. So let's scroll down our options here, go down to transform, and by position, this third set of numbers is our Z positioning that we want to use. Let's take it and scale it here so that the text appears big enough to just be slightly too big for frame. For comparison, this is what the very first frame of the actual intro text looks like. So trying to get this starting point right will actually help you to get the right feeling off the bat. Then let's make a keyframe here, and then go forwards in time, and push it back as far as we can go until it gets about this small. Then we can adjust the timing of these keyframes so that we get the right speed that we actually want. Then let's go a little bit before this keyframe, and let's add a quick fade out using the opacity parameter. And that's how simple it is to create the title zoom out. And now we get into the real part of the tutorial, the actual text crawl. Let's actually start this in a way that you might not be expecting. Go to Composition, New Composition, and we're actually going to be creating a composition that's the same width here, 1920, but we're actually going to be making sure that locking here is unchecked, and then key in 5000 for the height. And then let's give it a name that's really easy to follow. I'm going to call mine Text Crawl. Hit OK, and once we open up the composition here, we can see that this is what it looks like. Really tall. This will help us to create the text wall in an environment that's really easy to edit and make changes to. We can take our text cursor and then draw a box around the parameter of the composition here. And then voila, this is the boundary that our text will follow. Now all we have to do is type in what we want. We'll be using variations of the Gothic news font again. The way it's usually set up in Star Wars is that the episode number is first letter capital and the rest lowercase, and then Roman numerals to dictate which movie it actually is. Next up, you want the actual title. This one you're going to want to have a bold font and go all caps. And then once you've done that, you're going to highlight just this title, and you're actually going to stretch the text so that it's taller than normal. Then you can use the leading parameter just to space out these two lines a little bit. And then finally, we can type in the text that we actually want the main body to actually say. Usually, this takes place in about 3 paragraphs. I just copied and pasted what I wanted mine to say here, and then I'm going to work with this main body to make it look a little bit more like text and a little bit less like the titles, making it a little bit smaller and taking away the vertical stretching that was carried over from the last line. But now, if you look at the text, it doesn't look quite right. All the text for these Star Wars scrolls has a perfect edge on both the left and the right side. To fix this, let's highlight just the body of our text, and then go here to Paragraph Styles and select Justify Last Left. This automatically spaces out each line so that it's set up for both the left and the right side to be where the text starts and ends. And finally, we can take this whole thing, highlight it, and give it that same yellow color. The code again is F2BD1D. Awesome! So we've created our text, but how do we get it to crawl across the screen? Well, let's go back to our original composition again. And from here, we can go up to our project window and drag and drop our entire text crawl composition into this larger composition. Perfect. So now if we were to drag the position of our text up and down, it would perfectly scroll along the screen. But we don't actually want a traditional scroll. What we want to do is take the scroll so that it heads off into the distance. But how do we pull it off? Well, like the other title, let's start by making it a 3D layer. Then let's take it and open up the parameters and go down to transform. We're going to change the angle of the X rotation. You can play around with this to see what you like best, but what I'm pretty convinced is the closest to the original is to set it to -74 degrees. Then once you've got that, take the Z parameter, which is the blue arrow here, and push it down until you have the text at a place where the edges of the words, as they're coming into frame, are right about at the edge of each side of the frame. And then as you push the text forward with the green Y parameter, you'll be able to see it float off into the distance. So now you can take your position parameter and set a keyframe for where you'd like the text to actually come into frame. Then bring it down with the green Y arrow to just past the edge of the frame. Now move forwards in time and move it as far as you'd like it to be until you get to that desired endpoint in the distance. Note that your text should never actually leave the top of the frame. Move around your keyframes forwards and backwards in time until you get the desired speed. Play it through and see how it feels. But now if you want it to actually fade out into the distance, well, you can do the following to finish it off. Take the composition you've created here and pre-compose it. Next, with either Q or by selecting the rectangle tool, highlight your scrolling text layer and make a square near the top of the composition frame here. Have the bottom of the mask be around the middle of where you want the text to be fading out. Now go into your mask properties under this composition and increase the feathering. I like about 100. And then set the mask to subtract. Now we can see that our layer is scrolling into the mask as it's fading out before it gets to a certain distance. But even with this, you'll still probably want to add a subtle little fade out with opacity to help speed things along towards the end. This is actually how it plays out in the real Star Wars films. And guys, with that, we've shown you how to recreate the entire intro sequence to the Star Wars text crawl. We really hope that you liked this tutorial and found it helpful. And like I mentioned before, we have a free Star Wars text crawl template ready to download here at motionarray.com. I'll make sure to link to it. And while you're there, feel free to check out some of our royalty-free music and other After Effects templates. We really hope you find something you like. But guys, that's it for me. If you liked this video, consider liking it and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.